The Lives of the Saints by Father Alban Butler, August 7th, Saint Victricius of Rouen. Among the great bishops of the Western Church in the 4th century, 3 prelates of Gaul were distinguished: Saint Hilary of Poitiers, Saint Martin de Tours, and Saint Victricius of Rouen. The latter has less fame because we possess less data about him, while there are numerous documents about the life of the other 2. He was probably born not far from Scheldt around the year 400. His father, or one of his next ancestors, had been a soldier of the Coman legion called Victrix. We know nothing about his early years, but we do know that at 17 he joined the army, and shortly thereafter converted to Christianity. At that time, the Church had not yet decided on the legitimacy of the military career, and there was no lack of good and wise men who thought that a Christian had no right to embrace the career of arms. Thus, Saint Victricius laid them down during a military parade and renounced the career, cf. Saint Martin of Tours, who found himself in the same circumstances. As his term of service had not ended, the tribune considered Victricius's gesture as a lack of discipline and had him flogged. As he remained unmoved during the punishment, the tribune appealed to the comes, count, who condemned him to death for desertion. Saint Paulinus of Nola states in one of his letters that a miraculous intervention from heaven prevented the execution of the sentence. In any case, Victricius and other Christian soldiers were discharged from the army and released. This event is followed by a lacuna in the life of Saint Victricius. When we meet him again, he was already Bishop of Rouen. He must have been elected around 386. In his diocese, there were still many Gentiles. The bishop worked zealously for their conversion and introduced in Rouen the monastic life, which was not yet very organized at that time in Gaul. The monks and nuns of Saint Victricius were a group of ascetics, weakened by penance, and a choir of virgins, whose life is in the eyes of God even more splendid than it seems rude in the eyes of the world. St. Ambrose gave Saint Victricius many relics of saints that the people of Rouen received in solemn procession to deposit them in a shrine. Regarding the transfer of these relics, Saint Victricius predicted or wrote his treatise On the Praise of the Saints, which is both a panegyric and a thesis on their cult. From the literary point of view, this treatise is particularly interesting for the study of the rhythmic cursus. The saintly bishop founded several rural parishes, which at that time were almost a novelty. However, the conversion of the pagan peasants was very slow and lasted for another 2 centuries. Saint Victricius preached in the Artois, in the west of Flanders, in Hainaut, and in Brabant. But the most important of his work was the foundation of monastic centers, which the barbarians destroyed in the invasions of the 5th century. The fame of the prudence and sanctity of Saint Victricius reached England, and in the year 396, the saint went to that country at the request of some prelates to settle the differences that existed between them. We do not know what these differences were about. What is certain is that according to his own expression, Saint Victricius did all he could, although perhaps not all that was expected of him. I inspired the wise with the love of peace. I taught it to those who were capable of understanding it. I explained it to the ignorant and expounded it to the obstinate, with timely and importunate insistence. Towards the end of his life, Saint Victricius was accused of heresy and made a trip to Rome to defend himself. He succeeded without difficulty in proving his innocence and received from Pope St. Innocent I in 404 a famous decretal letter on disciplinary matters. In it, the pontiff spoke of the custom for bishops to refer to the Holy See the most important causes, causae maiores. We do not know exactly in what year Saint Victricius died.